So because of the things that I endured, because of that particular event, I had to do some research. And then when I found out family members were involved in certain things, and then when they got drunk, they would reveal certain bombshells. Like I've stated in other videos, they were the first person that told me to research Lilith, right? The mother of all demons. Which turned me on to the Book of Nod, which will tell you the other half of the story of Cain, what happened to Cain after he killed Abel. The Book of Nod. These were cursed beings. Right? They were kind of cursed with immortality. Those are your fallen angels here. Yeah, they've been trying to literally wage war on heaven, and however you depict that. They're trying to completely go against God, and they've seen, that's the funny thing. Like, if you don't believe in God and the devil and yada yada yada, you should really start paying attention to specific things that are going on in this reality, and start thinking outside the box, and stop thinking that everything is a publication stunt, quote unquote, right? Look at well, for just quicks, look at your musicians, right? Look at your artists, your more famous shit. Look how they started out, and look at what they ended up. They're not the same. I got somebody running up on me now. Fee, fi, fo, fum. What rock you call from? It's really fucked up, because knowing that we are in a spiritual war, literally, a war, for our souls. Throughout my research, I have found some pretty bizarre truths that are kind of undisputed. And they are outside the box. Exactly why I want to upload this in this two-part video. This will be the second half, obviously, because this is the realization. The realization is very simple, but very, very fucking complex. The elites know all the information about reincarnation, and they exploit it to the fullest. So pat yourself on the back, for one, you're still here, so they haven't claimed your soul. But then slap yourself in the face because you're still here and you haven't ascended to heaven either, which heaven is not open. There's nobody in heaven. That's what your stars are. Those are all the motherfuckers that learned what they need to learn and they ascended and they're waiting for the spot at the table, right? Or to fill the Emerald City. Because those that are going to the Garden of Eden, those are all the people that keep getting recycled time and time again. Right? So, those that are completely oblivious to what's going on in this reality, those are the ones that obviously are getting recycled time and time again. Like, they're so far gone that no matter how much logic you show them, they just can't break away from the straps of the realities, right? They've been indoctrinated and boxed in every way, shape, size, or form that they literally built a prison around their own creativity, around their own brains. Can't think outside the box. Those are the people that are recycled. People like me, we're not recycled. In fact, I kind of feel like certain people were kind of summoned here. You could summon demons. You could trap them and make them do your beckoning to the best of your abilities, which is the whole premise of black magic. Well, magic, period. You're summoning some kind of deity to do your bidding. But in order for that to even work, you got to put your soul in some kind of legal binding contract, right? Because you don't just free willingly get that power. You have to gain that power. And it only costs your soul. However, the flip side of that same token, free will and meditation. Be careful of astral projection, because as soon as you leave your vessel empty, if it's not protected, that just lets anything that's in this reality right now that you can't perceive to just enter your vessel, and now you're fucked. You can't enter your vessel while that shit's there, and you're not there to defend it, so guess what? It's got it indefinitely. So be wary of actually achieving astral projection, but that's the level that you want to try to start achieving, like right now. That kind of mental preparation. Those that have been severely gifted would be the most lonely motherfuckers in this reality. They'd be kind of people that be sitting in a fucking graveyard. It's kind of funny. I'm looking back at my videos now, actually, and I started out with a bald head, and I grew my hair long to the point where I was able to pull it back into a ponytail. And we're back to a bald head. There's no meaning behind it, at least not for me. I just like the change. It took so long growing it. And once I actually got it long, I was bored. And it's hot. So the things you want to you like I said, you want to try to achieve meditation in this reality, right? You want to achieve that mental aptitude, right? For lack of better words, right? Because then the veil of this reality won't have sway over you. You'll start being able to see things in this reality from a different perspective. And it's not very pleasant. And you're going to experience a wide variety of emotions. The tip of the iceberg is you think that this reality is thousands of years old. This reality is not thousands of years old. That tree has probably been here since the beginning of this particular reality. Right? Now, that tree is probably 3-4 foot base. So if I'm a betting man, I would say that tree is probably about 300 years old. Right? Nice tree. The tree is only about 300 years old. You don't see too many trees like that in this reality. You have to come to places like cemeteries to see the trees like that. They cut them down. So doubling back real quick about the gum spirits, aka turpentine. Ever since I very started my videos, I've been talking about turpentine. I've used it time and time again in my videos. I use it almost on a daily basis, right? It's how I keep this shit under control. If I didn't have the knowledge of turpentine and I didn't have the balls to use it, this shit would consume me. It would literally eat me from the inside out. I've already been there. And I'm still being affected with it on a daily basis. Like I said, these wounds have been here for months. Months. For no fucking reason. But here's the thing. A Morgellons victim will pick at the wounds. You gotta understand. Yes, and I pick at my wounds all the fucking time. Is the most satisfying thing in this reality. And anybody that has wounds of Morgellons will say the same thing. It is the most painful yet satisfying thing in this reality. See, what happens is just like these particular wounds, which are freshly picked. But there's a couple juicy ones on my shoulder here. What happens is these scabs they never heal. In fact, they do the exact opposite. They kind of grow, right? They turn into crazy hard mass that will just keep growing and growing and growing. But here's the thing: the bigger they get, the more they hurt and itch, to the point where it's almost an uncontrollable fucking drug addiction urge to rip it off and get it off of your flesh, because it is causing that much discomfort that you would rather fucking suffer the enduring pain of ripping this parasite off of your fucking flesh, because it does not want to let go. And then when you see the gaping wound that it leaves behind of just irritated flesh, and how instantly satisfying it is to have that off. And if you take that so-called scab and put it on a fucking plate or whatever the case might be and let it dry out, and you put it in a glass jar and you shake it around, guess what? It sounds like a diamond or something that you're shaking in the glass. I'm pretty sure scabs shouldn't do that. So the government was able to find a fungus and a bacteria that were able to coincide, like I said, and they meshed it into one bio weapon. It's called Morgellons. Like I said, a lot of people are suffering with this in a lot of different ways. There's a bunch of different ways of combating a lot of shit that's in this reality. One of them is a pulsar stick. So really Fast and Furious, a pulsar stick is take fucking a bunch of fucking super powerful magnets and put them all opposite attract. So South Pole to South Pole, North Pole to North Pole, South, South, North, North, yada, yada, yada. The more magnets you add and you cram in, the harder it gets to cram them in. Well, this emits an electromagnetic frequency dampener, right? So 8 to 10 magnets will give you a 3x3 radius where your cell phone won't work. Well, anything that's quote unquote Bluetooth or anything that's really an electrical will have issues operating laptops, all that shit, because it gives off a crazy electromagnetic frequency, right? And the government doesn't want you to know about it because they pump you full of frequencies all the time. So if you had a couple of these pulsar sticks on you, you would have an EMF blocker. Moving on. The next is one of my favorites. Something called a nano bucket, right? You've seen cheap knockoff feet, detox versions on infomercial bullshit, right? Because I've seen a ton of feet detox bullshits, right? Which is just a watered down version of the same thing, right? But you want to research about nano bucket, and basically you can make a nano bucket in your basement that would be more powerful than any foot detox ever. And basically all you do right, is you get a 5-gallon bucket and you wrap the entire bucket with electrical wire. one directional, so one solid strap, not like an extension cord that has multiple. You want one solid, so like, you know, something, a decent gauge. I don't know gauges off the top of my head. Something, I would say like an 8 gauge, maybe a 10 gauge. You know, something like pinky, you know, size, maybe a little bit smaller than pinky. And you wrap that, it's gonna be expensive. Wrap that around the bucket, so you have one end at the top, obviously, and one end at the bottom, right? You leave a section so you have overspill, you know, that you'll be able to play with and hook up to something else. You know, so you want to get like probably about 50, at least 50 foot, probably 100 foot, depending on how much you wanted to wrap the bucket, right? You start at the bottom, kind of, well, a little bit, probably about an inch from the bottom, and start working your way up the bucket. Don't start from the top, work your way down, because you'll have a gap, right? Some of the most potent blood flow goes through your feet. All right, so if you wanted to affect as much as blood as possible, your feet, your feet have a lot of blood going through them. So if you wanted to cleanse your blood, that's why you got your cheap feet knockoff cleansing bullshit. Same premise, right? You got a massive amounts of blood going through your feet. That's why your feet sweat a lot, you know, yada, 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 X, Y, X, Y. Then you get, you know, either a universal charger, or you get an old laptop charger. You know, whatever, doesn't really necessarily matter how you have it up, but you splice it in such a way that you can put a surge protector in the mix, or even you know, a 10 amp or 5 amp fucking fuse, you know, whatever you wanted to do. So if something went wrong, it just blew the fuse and blah, done. Yeah, so you basically splice it all up, hook it all up. Either the laptop charger or whatever you decided to use at that particular point in time will send a current around the coil, which will actually create its own electromagnetic frequency and field, which you can actually feel, because I put my arm into one of these devices that I made with no water in it, and just seeing if I could feel it, and I looked away to see if I could actually feel it, and lo and behold, as soon as my hand reached these fucking coils, I felt it. So then I did more experimentation with it, and I filled it with, you know, salt water, Epsom salt water, and put like a like, made sure that it was heated, and put like a circular pump in it to kind of stir it up, so it was kind of like a foot spa type thing. Actually turned out to be quite cool, but it got nasty kind of quick, because just like the foot shits detoxes that you see, yeah, I started pulling out all the toxins out of the body, so the water got kind of fucked up. So the water pump's not necessarily a good idea, you know, because it got fucked up. But the regular nano bucket, and you could do the same premise. There's the same guy that told me about Morgellons also made a video on a thing called a nano triangle, he called it, which is basically the same thing as the nano bucket, but you make like, you know, a smaller device the same way that you would the bucket, but instead of using a 5-gallon bucket that you can submerge your feet in, you make a smaller coil that you can move around. So if you wanted to put, like, for example, one of the best things would be to make that nano coil and kind of put it between your thighs, because you have two major arteries that run through your thighs. So if you just wanted to chillax and do the most potent cleanse that you would ever be able to do while kind of killing off shit and disrupting some of them, you put one of these coils between your thighs. Right, that would completely detox your. And then if you had like the nano bucket on top of it that was pulling all the toxins out through your your feet, through your sweat pores and shit, yeah, you would completely detoxify your shit in probably 20 minutes, half hour, 40 minutes. Like, you would see visible signs of this shit working. The problem is this technology's kind of been suppressed, right? Speaking of suppressed technology, yo, why are we not looking into hydrogen fuel, right? Hydrogen fuel, yo, is one of the things that has led to many people's deaths. Here's the thing: I'm at the point in my life that I'm kind of like, whatever, bring it. Hydrogen fuel, right? Like, you could literally make a hydrogen cell that could power any mechanical vehicle out there, whether it's a boat, whether it's a helicopter, whether it's a jumbo jet, whether it's a truck, whether it's a car. Then there's ways out there where you can reverse the polarity of an electric motor. So instead of taking electricity and converting it into mechanical energy, you're taking mechanical energy and converting it into electricity using electromagnetism. That's a fucking brainful. Yeah, so you basically take four microwaves, bust out the cores of the microwaves, you get the fucking copper elements out of it, you wire it all fucking up in such a way that you got one at the north, south, east, and west points. Then you take some of the most powerful magnets and you fabricate some kind of wheel where these magnets were on like a flywheel type thing, north, south, east, and west, to match up with the coils. Then you build a flywheel out of that premise so it spins freely, and house all the shit and wire it up. The coils will get an electric charge once started from the motor to power the coils, turning them into electromagnets. The magnets that are already in the flywheel will continuously try to grab these electric coils that you got, creating the reverse polarity of electromagnetism into mechanical energy back into electricity. Think about that shit. That's some mind twisting shit. But you could actually do it by fucking switching the wires and the mechanical premise of the motors up. So you could take a fucking $300 electrical motor, potentially, and four of the same fucking microwaves, bust out the cores on the microwaves, and potentially make unlimited potential electricity. You mix the potential electricity with hydrogen. Well, just to think of all the possibilities that you could endure with that. If you had an RV truck, you had unlimited electricity with very minimal amount of noise. In fact, it vibrates the fuck out of shit. So once you get the vibration thing under control, which is not easy, but once you get the vibration things under control, then the actual sound output from your electrical is 1,000 times better than any electrical generator that you're gonna get, or gas powered, diesel powered, any powered generator. 1,000 to 1. It's virtually silent, with the exception of the vibration. That converted sub branch off, so you could run your entire housing unit off of one of these things, maybe not a fridge continuously, or 6,000 air conditioners, but you could live off of it, right? One application, which is one of my fantasies, would be like a sailboat, right? uh, if you knew the premises of hydrogen, you would know that salt water, ocean water, would be a more than sufficient fuel source, right? So if you were able to incorporate the electrical thing that I was just talking about, the electrical generator, and incorporate that into a hydrogen cell and produce hydrogen, you can convert electricity to gas to mechanical, and you can literally power your every aspect of your sailboat, and the world would be your oyster. And that's just one application of 1.5 billion, right? But you wanted a fully self-sustained RV, Winnebago, camper, school bus, whatever the case, same system, right? Now, your gas-powered engines are already working off of combustion. So all you got to do is freaking incorporate the hydrogen into a same ratio as your gasoline through your freaking fuel injectors. Bam, it's a no-brainer. And instead of driving around with a full tank of fully flammable, highly explosive liquids, your hydrogen is on demand, right? Meaning that you would have more water in your tank than you would flammable things. So even if the worst case scenario is you crash, flip, blew the fuck up, or rolled, tumbled, the smallest explosion you would have would be maybe, an ammunition round, a little firecracker, maybe something a little bit bigger than a firecracker. That's better than a full tank of gasoline. Just saying. Or burning, like a full tank of diesel once that bitch is ignited. Turpentine. Turpentine is one of the most potent fucking antibiotics you're gonna get in this reality, right? Turpentine comes from pine trees, which is why there's been a severe attack on pine trees. I look up the history of all the pine barrens. There's 3 different forms of pine native to this area. One's poisonous, and 2 are, potentially beneficial. One is extremely beneficial. All of them are beneficial in different ways. But knowing your pine is a big thing. Now, the pine that's important is kind of like that pine right there. You can see how deteriorated and weak and feeble the pine is, right? It should be a lot more full and vibrant than it is right now. Let me just back it up and make sure that I'm showing the fucking pine. Yeah. That pine, yeah. Right? There should be a lot more branches, a lot more bullshit. Those are the pines that are beneficial. That's the kind of pine you're looking for. The other pine would be a lot more vibrant than that one. It'd be a lot more well off looking. Uh, the needles are different. Everything about the tree is different. Right? The needles kind of sag down on the ones that you don't want to use. And you usually see like a huge needle bed underneath them because they shed a lot. I don't see any of those pines here, but you do see them around a lot because there's like an ungodly amount of pine needles under them. But the quote-unquote Christmas trees, the true Christmas trees, those are, which is kind of ironic because you sacrifice the tree and you bring it into your house and then you glorify it as a deity, as a, a false idol. You decorate it with gold and silver and you bow before it every single year religiously. So they've turned the most potent fucking medicine into this reality, into a mockery. It's totally fitting for the rest of how this reality is. Right? Think of your Christmas tree. That's medicine. That's the true gift of life right there. And they told you it was poison. And then they turned it into poison by adding chemicals to it. It'll kill you. Well, I've been utilizing turpentine for fucking almost 10 years now. Almost every day of my life. And it did the exact opposite of kill me. It brought me back to life, and now here I am, whited out beard turning into a fucking old man, and I'm still in better shape than half motherfuckers, or most motherfuckers that are half my age. I outwork them every single day of my life. How's it poison? I'm not fat like the rest of these motherfuckers. Nah, because I'm killing off all the shit that's fucking poisoning me. Right? I know what iodine is. How iodine works in the body. Right? And that's another thing that we were told it was kind of poisonous. No, it's not poisonous. Salt. Yeah, they made a big attack on salt. And I used to crave the fuck out of salt. I still do. And now I know why. Because salt is one of the few things that actually gets up into the brain and cleanses the brain. That's why they fucking link, salt to like all a bunch of health diseases. No, that's bullshit. Funny true story about salt. I was in the military and I experienced heat exhaustion and heat stroke, and had to get sent to the emergency room where they pumped me full of like 6 bags of saline solution. And I randomly asked one of the nurses what was actually in a saline, like what actually made up a saline bag. And she just basically told me it's nothing more than salt water. And I looked at her, I'm like, wait a second, so let me get this straight. So I'm severely dehydrated. And you pump me full of salt water. How does that work? She's like, you know what? Now that you put it that way, she's like, I really don't know. Alright, check. So I get discharged eventually, and I get back out into the field. And I was during like one of our 1-month excursions where like we were basically out in the woods for a month. And I spent like 5 days in the hospital, so I spent like one of the weeks in the hospital getting pumped full of this shit. And it was a hot motherfucker, and I was already, fucked up multiple times already, so I'm already fucked up and not wanting to deal with shit. And then the heat stroke and the exhaustion was just another like level of like what the fuck. But I remembered what that bitch said about the saline bag, you know, being salt water. So the next time I was in the field, which was right after that, I always made sure that I had a couple salt packets on hand. And lo and behold, I started feeling the same symptoms again. Because you got to understand the amount of gear that you're wearing when you're in these exercises. You're wearing everything you can possibly wear. So it is fucking, if it's 100 degrees out, which it was over 100 degrees, you're probably 150 degrees because of the way you're fucking dressed. Everything's tucked into everything else and tightly strapped and yada yada yada. So it's very easy to get heat exhaustion if you're in any of the southern states of America. It's very easy. So when I started feeling that same shit, I took a couple iodine salt packets and fucking threw them down the old lozenge and then chased it with a little bit of water. But guess what? Turns out that by doing that, the salt actually makes your body retain the water that it's taking in, so you don't wind up pissing it out, number one, or you don't wind up sweating it all out and becoming severely dehydrated and experiencing things like dehydration and heat exhaustion and heat stroke and so on and so forth. So which is why horses and cattle need salt blocks, right, when they're outside, right, because they have to have a certain amount of salt in their body because they don't sweat the same way that we do. So the body has to regulate their temperature, yada yada yada. You know what's funny? Is I spit nothing but logic since I started talking. Which is almost 2 hours now. Which would probably be one of my most powerful fucking videos that because I've hit all topics in this video. Because I just don't care anymore. Like, I have the bullseye. I want the bullseye. I've already set up my offer for old Lucy and his little bitch ass fucking army. Now one of them stepped before me. Because they're all fucking cowards. I go up on a mountain all the fucking time. I'm isolated all the time. Cowards. There used to be a guy when I first started these videos, Richie from Boston, right? He actually was the guy that got me started in my videos. He made a video, there was whatever. He told me to make a video on one of his videos, so I did. And that's how my channel started. In one of my videos, which is still up to this day, I don't know which one, I made a comment which I want to reflect upon because it kind of makes sense in a way. Like, it's very easy to get misguided with the information that is presented. Like right now, especially right now. Where when I started waking up was, when things like the dead internet conspiracy started taking effect, right? There was no dead internet conspiracy, a while back. And basically, what that is basically the governments that own the internet have scrubbed the internet of all the truthful information, which is why you got the fact checkers and the rest of the bullshit, and replaced it with fictional bullshit that's not going to get you anywhere. Kind of like your schooling system. But if you're able to see past the veil, and this reality was supposed to be a gift. It was supposed to be a gift. This gift was so powerful that it literally divided the heavens. Because we were given something that the angels weren't given. We were given free will. We were able to choose. And they've been rebelling ever since. And they didn't fail just once. They failed multiple times. Lucifer, whatever, however name you know him as, he's not failed once. He's failed, by my accounts, at least 5 times. 5 separate times the son of a bitch has failed. It's probably closer to 9, which is where you get the, Norse mythology with the 9 realms. Because I've always been a firm believer that there's 9 hells, kind of like Dante's Inferno. But I biblically, and yada yada yada, I only see 5 times that Lucy fell. Now this reality itself probably has fallen 9 times already, which is your planets. Right, those are all hells. Which is why each planet is a different size, right? Look at the entities or the beings that would be associated with that particular the planet, or that realm, that hell. So going back to the very beginning of this video, right? This reality is only about 300 years old. Right? Do research on the World's Fairs. Do research on the Crystal Palaces. Right? Do research on orphans, right? They all coexist. They all coincide in insane asylums. This is the last one, right? If people like me were able to see outside the box, and we know some of the doors, we would be considered insane by the so-called establishment. Which is why they used to say craziness was contagious. Well, if I'm spitting logic, no matter how crazy it is, if it makes logical and tactical sense, eventually my logic is going to run off on somebody, no matter how far out the box it is. Right? Pine, turpentine. Why did they spend so much time and money burning down all the pine barrens? And why did we have so many pine barrens to begin with? Well, because our ancestors knew, and they destroyed them, and then replaced them. Right? That's why we use pine as cheap lumber. Right? We can use anything as cheap lumber, but we decide because they flaunt it right in your fucking face. Uh, Once you start thinking on the waves, that I start thinking like you stop running out of things to be afraid of. Like there might be things that startle me, yeah, obviously, jump frights and jump stairs are kind of fucking whatever. There's only one real fear that I have in this reality, which should be everybody's fear. You know, in some way, shape, size, or form, being bound, whether it's in jail, whether it's whatever, being bound in such a way that you're not able to defend those that will, ultimately depend on you the most when shit hits the fan. That's my fear. But then on the flip side of that, my path is also solo, so that circle is very small. It seems to be getting smaller by the day. So now, not to sound like negative Nancy, but it's getting kind of hard waking up every single day. Like, I don't understand the point of it anymore. But at the same time, I fully understand the point of it. Like, I'm supposed to bear witness and watch and record, mentally record. I've also been cursed, I believe, too. Like I said, I believe I'm part of an angelic lineage. Yeah, I believe I was summoned here, which is why I'm one of the ones that suffer the most in this reality. I believe I was pulled here. Trapped in a flesh prison. I wasn't the only one either. We all were. They systematically pulled us all here. It's the whole point of CERN. People, they didn't understand, they don't understand what CERN is doing. Well, they're opening portals, but kind of like Ghostbusters, they're pulling angelic beings out of heaven and trapping them. I know it's some sci-fi shit, but yeah, that's what they're doing. And they've been doing it for a while now. And they split reality into multiple different realities, so there's not one dimension anymore. There's multiple dimensions, which means there's multiple hells and multiple variations of each hell. Because each dimension has a realm, or their own set of realms. So every time you split dimensions, you're also splitting realms. So if there's 9 realms per dimension, every dimension you create creates 9 hells and 3 heavens. Well, this video is going on an hour in itself. My other one's about an hour, so they're 2 1-hour videos of me sitting out here. Now, I like doing these videos in this format where I'm just sitting in random locations. Usually, one of my more potent locations is, you know, the basement. But I kind of walked away from that part of my life. There was things there that there was evil, straight evil there. Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, look. Be aware, but non-consumed, right? Because when I woke up, you know, this shit consumed me for years. I went through every range of emotion, more anger than anything else, and that's one of the biggest emotions that I feel on a daily basis is raw anger for multitude of different reasons, you know. One being, you know, like I can't understand why, you know, the average Joe can't see, you know, what is going on right now. You know, like everybody says there's been a spell cast on, you know, the average person. And then, yeah, we're stuck in hell. We gotta watch and just patiently wait. Well, about time to get some food, but I will be posting more videos as time goes on because, you know, there's things that just need to be said, and I'm an adamant researcher myself. Maybe not so much nowadays as I was in the past. But there's things that people need to be aware of, you know, which I severely think that have been suppressed, you know, on people. Some of the biggest things that are affecting this particular situation is lead and fluoride. Lead and fluoride attack very specific regions of the brain. Do research on both lead and fluoride and what they're byproducts of and yada yada yada, right? These are what you're consuming on a daily basis. And chlorine's another one, right? That's why they use chlorine in your water, right? Lead in your water, fluoride in your water, right? And it's not coincidence. No, they did it on purpose. Right? These are all things that, you know, attack your spirituality in one way or fucking another. So if you don't know, you know, how to cleanse these things from your body, you know, well, I hope these videos find you well because they don't get zero publicity at all in any way, shape, size, or form. The only publicity they get is when you guys share them. I might drop them here and there, you know, once in a while on Facebook, but even then, I stopped doing that, you know, for the most part too, because, you know, when I do that, just the trolls just get the most important shit taken down, like all my videos talking about medicine or showing you how to prepare medicine and what, you know, some of the medicines are in this shit. So I got to be careful. Well, I just don't give a fuck. I never have, of what I say and how I say it. Otherwise, my shit would just get pulled down. So I can't give step-by-step tutorials, which is again why I make videos in this format, so you could just have me playing in the background while doing other things. So if you're a video gamer, if you like to work out and you just like to hear somebody, you know, kind of, you know, give you a motivational speak, yeah, that's you know what my channel is about. And I talk about the things that nobody to this day still talks about, which has been battle tested time and time again. The turpentine I've used to literally cure so many different ailments. It's unfathomable, depending on what the ailment is. Depends on the method on which you would utilize the turpentine, right? There's many different ways, from digestion, from ingestion, to battle wound, to flesh wound, to burn, to whatever it is, antiseptic, whatever the fuck it is. There's different ways of utilizing it. Is so universal that it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's probably one of the most easiest things to make in this reality, which is why it's been so heavily, well, because you know the name turpentine. You know exactly how they have indoctrinated you, because how do you envision turpentine? I envision drinking it. How about you? Straight. How about you? Don't get me wrong. Like I said, the shit you get at the hardware stores and shit, that's all poison. They fucking butchered it. There's ways around it. 100% gum spirits. That's one way around it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't be making these videos that are some of the most controversial videos in this reality to date, hands down. Like, I'm still one of the few channels that has as much singular content as I do on my channel. Most of my singular content, with the exception of my medicinal videos, are still up. To the best of my knowledge. I haven't looked. I haven't cared to look in a while. But I will be posting more. I've hit the 1 hour and 3 minute mark on this half of the video, so we'll see. We'll see how many people value some of the things that I have to say, over the next couple of days. Maybe I'll post more hidden knowledge and gems out there. Be safe, and I love y'all. And if I didn't love y'all and I didn't care, then I wouldn't be making these videos, right? Because if I didn't care how you thought, then what was the point of me making these videos? And I don't want you to blindly follow what it is that I say. I only want you to think for yourself. That's all I've ever said, is think for yourself. Forget about what anybody else. What do you see? What do you feel? Right? What is going through your spiritual being? Right? That's what I want. That's what I've always wanted. So Richie from Boston made a video way back when. I forgot to finish off on this, so let me finish that real quick. Richie from Boston, which used to be a YouTuber, which is now on another platform. I was a small subscriber here for a hot minute, but he used to be one of the bigger truth promoters out there. And like I said, he's also the reason why I started my videos in the fucking first place. But he also said that he stopped following me when I posted one of my videos where I talked about, like, in an aspect that we are the essence of the fallen angels. And he didn't understand what I meant by that. At that time, I didn't really even understand what I meant by that. But now looking back at everything that I've endured in every video that I've ever posted, yeah, it makes sense. We have been altered in every way, shape, size, or form, and still being altered with alien, quote-unquote, demonic technologies to this day. The premise that I was trying to make at that time, or the whatchamacallit, at that particular point, was a little bit different, or the meaning behind it was a little bit different, in that but it still holds sway to this day. We've been manipulated in every way imaginable, whether it's our fucking belief system, whether it's our fucking educational system. It doesn't matter what it is. We've been indoctrinated in every way and manipulated in every way. And it's only up to us the strong that are gonna say, okay, well, the games are not gonna work on us anymore, and we're gonna look past all this shit. We're gonna be either the first ones that die when shit hits the fan because they don't want our knowledge going on, or we're gonna be the very last ones in this reality. And if we're the very last ones in this reality, it's because you fucking people didn't listen to us. And on that note, be safe, and I love y'all. Good night.